was left with shattered ribs, missing teeth and a broken nose. Doctors said Roxana's wounds were within an inch of killing her.
What's it like being in the jaws of one of these animals?
Painful. You don't really know what to suspect actually. It's just in its jaw, it's going to do whatever it wants to do. You can't stop it. You just have to go along with everything that's happening. You have to go with the pain, the blood and all the injuries afterwards.
The attack on Roxana provoked a public outcry and was a major factor in the creation of the 1991 Dangerous Dogs Act.
I can tell the House from midnight tonight the import of dogs bred for fighting, such as the American Pit Bull Terriers and Japanese Tosas, will be banned. Such dogs have no place in our homes.
The Dangerous Dogs Act was designed to outlaw pit bull types as a banned breed. But is it failing? That question needs to be asked on Merseyside. For Liverpool's young criminal class, pit bulls are a status symbol. The gangs even post videos on the internet boasting about their dogs. Anyone caught possessing a pit bull will usually have their dog destroyed. But if owners convince the courts their pet isn't a danger and will be neutered, microchipped, muzzled and leashed in public, only then will they be spared. Roxana Khan believed she'd be the pit bull's last child victim. She wasn't.
This is BBC Radio Merseyside.
A 5-year-old girl has been mauled to death by a pit bull terrier at the family home on Merseyside has been named as Ellie Lawrenson.
It was here on Merseyside in the early hours of New Year's Day that the pit bull ripped its way into the public consciousness again, with the death of Ellie Lawrenson.
Panorama has been given access to statements made by police and paramedics who were here at the scene on the night Ellie died. The content is horrific, but if you want to know how seriously pit bulls need to be taken, then you should listen.
I walked into the house and there was blood in the hallway. I looked in the front room and the laminate flooring was covered in blood. I saw a dark-coloured suite and a large chair by the window. I saw a girl's body. Her head was near the large chair. I covered the child's body with blankets.
Christian Duncan is a plastic surgeon at the Alderhay Children's Hospital in Liverpool. He operates on those children that survive dog attacks, and over the last year he's been kept extremely busy.
In this hospital we have averaged over the last year approximately one admission to the accident and emergency every day.
Around 70 of those suffered wounds so serious they underwent plastic surgery, and disturbingly, more and more of Christian Duncan's patients are turning out to be very young children.
We get an increasing number of children between around about the age of 1 and the age of 6.
Around a quarter of these children will be victims of pit bulls.
An American Pit Bull Terrier or Pit Bull dog can inflict very serious damage on a child. The bite force that's generated is very significant and usually involves puncture wounds, and that will be multiple puncture wounds because there are lots of teeth involved. The way the injury takes place often involves a certain amount of traction, and what happens is you get the teeth puncturing the skin, digging in and then pulling.
Somebody is breeding these pit bulls. The question is, who are they and how do they operate? Behind the inner city teenage gangs and their street status symbols is a supply chain which has its roots in organised dogfighting. A criminal network in a different league to the pseudo-gangsters. Over the years, I've reported extensively on paramilitary violence here in Northern Ireland. The world I'm about to enter is just as dangerous. I'll require specialist help from someone with the skill and training to win these people's confidence, someone they will never suspect. We first met Steve in his hometown of Newcastle. An undercover operative, he spent many years serving with an elite British Army unit. But this time, instead of guns, Steve would be relying on his wits. I would later meet up with him in Northern Ireland, because as we reveal, it is a major pit bull supply route to UK cities like Liverpool, as others have discovered.
Northern Ireland is the epicentre of dog fighting in the UK, if not Europe. You have two of the biggest dog fighting kennels operating in this country, and they are absolutely paramount to the supply of pit bulls over to England.
Stephen Philpott and his team have been battling dog fighters for years. There were local successes, but something was to happen in April last year which opened the door on this secret world, not just in Northern Ireland, but right across the rest of the UK and Europe.
Just let me know if any vehicles arrive at the front, okay?
Yeah, no, but
okay. Cheers, bye.
The USPCA were tipped off that a pit bull imported into the Irish Republic, where the breed is legal, would be smuggled illegally over the border into Northern Ireland.
As that animal was being unloaded, I was satisfied that that dog was a heavily scarred pit bull terrier.
A USPCA team trailed 2 men to this house in the town of Dungannon. With police backup, they raided the property, seizing the smuggled pit bull and discovering 3 other unlicensed dogs.
In a shed, we found training equipment, namely treadmills, mechanised treadmills, that I know are used by organised dog fighters to condition their dogs and stamina train their dogs for fighting.
But Stephen Philpott wasn't prepared for what happened next. The man whose house he'd raided is an Irish sporting legend.
I suddenly thought to myself, here's a guy whose picture was up on my kid's bedroom wall, and all along he was nothing better than a scummy dog fighter.
Cavlin gets it off the left foot.
Gerard Cavlin is a Gaelic football star. A half-forward for County Tyrone, he's played in front of 83,000 fans to win the All-Ireland final, Gaelic football's version of the FA Cup.
Gerard Cavlin drives it high, and Gerard Cavlin puts Tyrone into the lead.
The heavily scarred pit bull seized from Cavlin's house was a Finnish fighting dog called Cannonball. But it wasn't just the capture of Cannonball which excited Stephen Philpott. It was the discovery of dog-fighting literature in Cavlin's house. The BBC has been given unique access to the documents discovered in Cavlin's house. They read like a who's who of the dog-fighting fraternity. Some of the top fighting gangs in the country are listed here. They have names like Boneyard Kennels, Prize Fighter, and Cavlin's own outfit, the Bulldog Sanctuary Kennels. There were also blow-by-blow accounts of major dogfights in Ireland, the UK and Europe in the last 10 years. Some of the dogfighters are even pictured posing with their pit bulls, and children are included in some of the snaps.
The material at Gerard Cavlin's house showed us that dogfighting was more organised, more lucrative, and bigger than we had ever thought possible. This was an absolute Aladdin's cave of material for anyone who now wanted to go and investigate dogfighting.
And that's exactly what we wanted to do. Clearly Cavlin had international connections. As we sifted through the box of evidence seized from the football star's home, 2 names stood out. A Finn called Robert Gonzalez, the man named on Cannonball's pet passport, and Paul Dunkell, the boss of a pit bull breeding business based outside Helsinki. Posing as a couple, Steve, the undercover operative, and I travelled to Finland to investigate the possibility of buying a fighting pit bull from Paul Dunkell. We found his house hidden away at the end of a long lane, surrounded by forest.
Hi Paul. Hello. How are you?
Dunkell led us on a kennel tour, assuring us his dogs had impeccable fighting credentials. We used secret cameras on this trip, but Dunkell did allow us to use a camcorder. Pit bulls are legal in Finland. Dog fighting is not.
Usually we have about 40 dogs here.
Yep.
And right now I guess the exact count is something like 35 or something like that, more or less. If you are searching for a fighting dog, then I suggest that we do some deal like this, that we test him here before you even talk more. This could be a little bit what you are searching for, a wild, crazy, active sporting dog. And he has been in some action. And this is almost guaranteed that it will be something that you are looking for.
He's a Tasmanian devil on a lead.
Hey, kicks the other dog's ass.
Being a Dunkell pit bull can't be much of a life.
If you put him in a dog fight, he will probably, no matter if he's in good or bad condition, he will fight from the beginning to the end, and probably he will die.
As pit bull after pit bull was introduced, it was clear we were standing in the middle of a dog fighting factory.
He bites hard and she has good skills from all our dogs. She has the most biting power. It's like crushing bones ability.
Then out of the blue came the link to Cannonball, the pit bull seized at Jared Kavlin's home. Dunkell told us he knew Robert Gonzalez, the name on Cannonball's pet passport. In fact, Gonzalez had tested Cannonball against one of Dunkell's pit bulls. Dog fighters call it a roll.
Cannonball was the first time beaten up about 20 meters down there. Yeah. And Bobby Gonzalez came with his friends and he had a Cannonball. It was really in the peak condition. Yeah. And he said, hey, let's take a roll with Cannonball and Taista. I said, hey, what the heck, let's try. Then we had the roll here and it was really devastating for Bobby Gonzalez.
No wonder Cannonball was found to be heavily scarred when he was captured by the USPCA. But back to the business of choosing a fighting dog.
The most good choices would be, for example, Nipper. Yeah. He's a super dog and he is already rolled. He's a good one.
Nipper could be ours for €2,000. Dunkell also offered to export the potentially lethal pit bull. We wanted to test the UK ban on importing dogs bred for fighting. We told Dunkell we'd be back in a few months to buy Nipper.
It's been about an hour since we left Dunkell Kennels and I still can't quite believe what I saw in there. Ears off, some of the dogs he showed us, he said, had been retired because they'd had to have all of their teeth extracted because they got damaged in fights or they had got broken on some of their toys, which were these boulders. It was just incredible.
Forget boulders. This is what happens when pit bulls use their teeth to chew on a child.
This is a patient who was admitted almost a year ago exactly. And she was attacked by a pit bull. There's a sort of a crescent here. And this crescent represents the bite pattern of the animal, with probably a series of bites actually, and a series of wounds characterized by tearing in this direction. And I can tell you, although it's not possible to do with a picture, that if one were to stick a finger into this wound, for example, it would come out this wound.
Dogfighting was banned in the UK in 1835. But all it did was force dogfighting activity underground.
Today, they take place in pits like this. Dogfighting is extremely brutal, but there's a lot more to it than simply forcing two pit bulls into a ring like this one and waiting for them to tear each other to pieces. The orgy of violence unfolds in a highly controlled environment. For instance, each ring must be at least 15 by 15 foot and carpeted. And you've got these marks called scratch lines, which identify each dog's corner. When you hear that a dog has been scratched, it means it's been released from behind these lines to fight.
Matches are governed by a strict set of rules. There are 19 in all, and each offers a unique insight into how underground fights are conducted.
For years, dog fighters have tried to keep them secret, but this copy was seized during the raid on Gerard Cavlin's house.
Take Rule 5, the pre-match washing of the dogs. It reads like a bizarre ritual. Both dogs to be washed in the same warm water. Both dogs to be rinsed in clean water, taken from the same container. One kennel in particular appears time after time in the match reports found in Cavlin's home. They're one of the most notorious gangs of dog fighters in the UK, indeed in Europe, and they're based here in the town of Tandragee in County Armagh. They're the Farmers Boys.
The Farmers Boys are absolutely huge. They're massive. They're the Manchester United of the dogfighting world. Anywhere you go, they're talked about with the utmost respect. Over the last 25 years, they have established trading partners in inner city Britain, and they're now selling their dogs to those people in those cities: Glasgow, Edinburgh, Manchester, Liverpool, London.
This is London, and the sort of place where Farmers Boys' dogs can end up. Police seized 21 pit bulls from this house in Northolt last November. Some were described as pit bull royalty in court. And among the paperwork discovered, this pedigree certificate.
The Farmers Boys, they are like very well known, very popular guys in the breeding, in the pit bull. Definitely.
Ricardo Byfield and his wife Lisa were jailed and banned from owning dogs for life. But Lisa's out now and clearly still involved with dogs. She says she's rearing them for a friend.
But how were we going to infiltrate an international dogfighting ring? We'd seen pictures of the Farmers Boys, but making contact with the gang wasn't going to be easy. Our intelligence told us that dog shows in the Irish Republic provided a safe meeting place for fighters. Pit bulls are legal here. Then we got lucky. We came across an advert in a local paper for a dog show here at Castle Bellingham, just across the border.
It was a long shot, but it worked. Among ordinary members of the public, we found some Farmers Boys.
Who the targets we look for.
Steve had spotted the godfather of the Farmers Boys, Stephen Barrasco. He caught his attention by talking about our recent trip to Dunkeld Kennels.
I just moved over from England there and I was looking at getting a good dog. I just ordered one there now, so should be ready to go.
What the hell is bread?
Finland.
Finland. Some good stuff out there, sure is. I haven't been there now, but a couple of my mates have been there.
Legend has it that Barrasco imported the first pit bull into Northern Ireland in the 1980s, when the dogs were still legal. The Dangerous Dogs Act was meant to stamp out pit bulls as a breed. But dogfighting still thrives, attracting some very dangerous people, as the USPCA has discovered.
Sledgehammer attacks on our properties, arson attacks on our properties, and on numerous occasions, these people just steal the dogs straight back off us again. It's a very, very, very difficult world to bring to an end.
A world our undercover operative was being drawn into. Steve's exchange at Castle Bellingham was enough to get him invited to another show, on the Farmers Boys' home turf in Northern Ireland. Pit bulls are banned here, but the gang openly paraded fighting dogs among legitimate breeds. And Stephen Barrasco had a surprise in store.
Could you do me a big beer with it here? Could you judge the dogs, the pit bulls?
Let's see why not. As long as keep us right.
Well, there'll be rings steered in me, you know. We're showing our own dogs.
What was Steve supposed to do? It had to be a test. But would he pass?
Right, you see in this class here, staff dogs and bitches, and then you have the small type staff.
Yeah.
Well, that's the show type staff.
Yeah.
That's the Irish staff.
Yeah.
American staff, dog and American staff bitches, that's just slang for pit bulls.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, listen, if you're going to be judging here, I'll not be seen talking to you. But it would be better if you stayed away from me, you know what I mean? Because, in case you put any of my dogs up.
Barrasco could relax. Whatever happened, the Farmers' Boys would take away the top prizes that day.
American staff dogs! So this is this small stuff you know?
No, this is American pit bull dogs.
First up was a farmer's boy with his fighting dog, Bucky.
Yeah. How long have you had him? 3 years. Good dog? Alright. Game boy? Been well, perfect. Yeah. 3 years. 3 years, two chunks here that I'm doing now. Alright. Yeah. Well, all healed up, yeah. Yeah, there's another chunk out of the fucking whole leg here. Ah, shit. Two chunks out of the leg. They fucking wreck some big dogs, actually. Get in underneath them and fucking whack them. So they did, and they thought those like fucking 60 drink he was wrecking.
Next up was another farmer's boy. Or should that be a farmer's girl?
What's his line?
He's farmer's boys with a touch of Chinaman.
Yeah. How long have you had him? Have you had him from Pop like, have you?
He's Stevie's dog.
Is he?
Yeah.
You'll be getting a prize then. But one of our biggest prizes of the day was meeting this man, farmer's boy Chris Hamill. He had actually watched Cannonball fight in Finland with the footballer Jared Kavlin.
You've seen Cannonball fight, like?
Yeah. Fucking happy mate there, but he was a small dog, like, and he was fucking eating its chest out, but the big dog just came back on him, just to finish him then.
Steve got his reward for handing out most of the prizes to the farmer's boys. Barrasco invited him to join them for a drink after the show. If the judging was a test, Steve had not only passed, but he'd started to earn his place in the farmer's boys' fold.
There's a pub in Tonagee we're all going for a drink in the night.
Right, okay.
Called the Paddock. You sure what can come down.
That's great, mate.
Well, done from 8 o'clock. There'll be a whole lot of dog men there.
The Paddock is the farmer's boys' pub of choice. Located in Tandragee's High Street, Steve met the farmer's boys there on many subsequent occasions, invariably to hear Barrasco hold court.
It's been going on around Tonagee for that many couple of years, you know what I mean? Inner circle of the games for serious people, you know what I mean? We're in the breeding our own on our own name and nothing and all, you know what I mean? And on a snack, that's a European name.
What it came down to was that the farmers' boys kennel, as they call themselves, was the biggest supplier in Europe for fighting American Pit Bull Terriers. Their main buyers at the minute is the Asian community from Birmingham. They could buy up to 20 dogs a month, and they're buying them in pup form and bringing them up themselves, or they're buying the dogs at 2.5-year-old ready for fighting.
We are into going over and fighting the fucking Germans and Holland and one thing and all, you know what I mean? On that, you know what I mean? That's what Brenda. We were the first people ever to fucking take dogs out in the continent, you know what I mean? That's the direction we want to go in. You know, becoming like a warrior force.
The farmers' boys have built their name on keeping outsiders out.
That way they're a great reputation, you know what I mean? So we don't let people in on it easy.
But that's just what they've done. Now, Steve needed to buy a pit bull. It would give him credibility with the farmers' boys, but we also wanted to find out, despite a ban, how easy it would be to smuggle a fighting dog into the UK. That meant a return to Paul Dunkell in Finland.
Paul Dunkell.
Since our last visit 6 months before, Dunkell's pit bull business had been doing well.
We run now one of the biggest dog supply business in the whole Finland. Yeah? Yeah, and fastest growing.
Dunkell took us up into the woods to see Nipper again. The dog is descended from Little Killer, a Texan fighting pit bull legend.
Here we have one super dog. Say hello to Nipper. Yes. He is a really strong built one.
We don't put pit bull down on the passport, though, do we?
No.
Yeah.
And
that's okay. Yeah.
And there is nothing that connects to pit bull that you can use and I suggest that you really stick to the plan. I mean, in every corner, that even if you are walking in the United Kingdom or England, where I guess it's not allowed to have unregistered pit bulls, you just say that this is a boxer retriever mix. I bought it from Finland, from Paul Dunkel. That's very easy.
Then it was back to the house, where Dunkel and his wife Yona talked us through how to illegally import a fighting pit bull into a country like the UK. It seemed like second nature to them.
All the documents, the legal documents, doesn't have anything to do with pit bulls or fighting dogs or whatever. And those documents are totally legal. They are official and legal. There is no problem with that.
Is he chipped already, yeah?
Yes, he is chipped already. There is the microchip number.
Yeah, the barcode.
Yes, and there is the breed, the official breed.
Boxer Labrador.
Yes. This is the previous vaccinations were good, but now we have this new EU passport, which is the one that he has to have. And then this is the paper that you shouldn't keep with the other papers. This is the registration certificate.
This is the only document that proves Nipper is 100% American Pit Bull. It should impress the farmers' boys, but the Dunkels warned us to keep it hidden.
We always do it like that, it's paper. Well, of course the dog is what it is, you know, papers or no papers. But the fact is that we breed only purebred American Pit Bull Terriers.
Are you paying now?
Yeah.
How much are you paying?
How much do you want?
As much as possible. But I remember that we talked about 2,000 euros. Was it that?
I think it was 2,000 euros.
Thank you very much. Everything will be okay, legal, and keep I don't mean keep a low profile, but don't talk to all your friends.
Mission accomplished. We'd bought Nipper and would test the UK ban on importing fighting dogs later. But while we were in Finland, we also wanted to visit the other man named on the paperwork found in Jared Kavlin's house, Robert Gonzalez.
So, what brings you to Finland?
Well, we came over, we ordered a dog.
Who's helping you?
Over here?
Yeah.
Paul Dunkel.
Oh. Okay, you know what's the worst thing with Dunkel dogs?
Yeah.
They're man-biters.
It wasn't until I joined the Farmers Boys, you know the Farmers Boys? Yeah. That they told me about you.
Right, okay.
Once Gonzalez had checked our dogfighting credentials, he seemed happy to talk about Cannonball, the pit bull seized from Jared Kavlin.
He's the strongest dog people have seen.
Real big head.
He will just walk and grab you, pick you up, and put you in the corner and finish you.
Yeah. No, it's just a shame that they've got hold of him.
What can you do? That was very, very bad luck.
Is Jer keeping you informed on what's happening? And
yeah, I just talked to him a week ago.
Jared Kavlin's legion of fans had no idea their hero has more than Gaelic football on his mind. But we wanted to hear about Kavlin's secret dogfighting life from the horse's mouth. So through Bobby Gonzalez, we made him an offer. If Kavlin wanted the evidence to disappear, Steve would steal Cannonball back from the authorities. Half an hour after Steve put the phone down to Gonzalez, Kavlin bit.
Tell me, is this a big job, is it? Would it be hard to do?
What, to get it away from there?
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be big as what you would think, mate, to be honest.
I'd like to get him towards the end of next week, if at all possible. My date's on the 23rd of April.
Right, so you need it gone for then, like?
Need it gone as soon as possible, more or less, because if he's not there, there's no case. I can meet you anytime.
There he is now.
Yeah, stand by, stand by.
Kavlin was more widely travelled than we had imagined. He admitted visiting dogfighters in Holland and confirmed he'd been to Finland to watch Cannonball fight.
Did you match over there, like, or did you see?
No, we just went over. We went over to Cannonball's match, you see.
Ah.
How many was there? 3 or 4 matches on that day, I couldn't match it.
The footballer also admitted, despite his looming court case, that he was still involved in keeping fighting dogs.
Everyone's tucked away like on the road. Still have a dozen or 15 dogs, like. What's the story anyway? Where is the spot? Is that just outside Belfast?
We'll go up now and I'll show you, mate. You can see it from the hill. It's in a place called Palace Barracks.
Palace Barracks?
Yeah, which is an army camp. So you're happy enough that once you get all Cannonball that you can...
We get him shifting and I'll never be seen again.
Steve drove Cavlin to a country park which overlooked the barracks. Our cameramen were hidden in undergrowth.
Please? Yeah, bring it right over. I don't know if we get a view from here, but... That's a place there, see? All that is one camp.
Yeah.
And that's where we get exercise there.
And that yellow bit?
Yeah. Have a look through, see if you can... You might have to just adjust them way a bit. You seeing?
You get search days and that 5-side pitch?
Yeah.
Then it turned out kidnapping Cannonball was not a new concept to Cavlin.
We had planned to go and see him.
Yeah.
And I advised to come in. As soon as I drove out of this place, they were going to drive in and lift them and go, but it never came off.
We didn't kidnap Cannonball. We never intended to. Cavlin duly appeared in court on the 23rd of April. He pleaded guilty to possession of a pit bull type, but the court heard that Cavlin was an innocent who had collected Cannonball as a favour for a friend. The footballer walked free with a fine, a 5-year ban on keeping terrier-type dogs, and ordered to pay costs. On appeal, the courts reduced the costs and lifted the ban on owning dogs.
Mr. Cavlin, Mandy Macaulay from the BBC. I want to ask you some questions. Mr. Cavlin, why was the court told that you knew nothing about pit bulls? Mr. Cavlin, that's a lie. It's a lie, isn't it? You're an international dog fighter. You've been travelling to matches across Europe, watching animals rip each other apart. How do you think your fans will feel when they realise what you've been doing, that you've been involved in animal cruelty? How do you think the authorities will feel whenever they realise you've got fighting dogs stashed across the country?
Cavlin may lead a double life, but let's get back to the man whose whole life it is to fight dogs. The farmers' boys. In the weeks before Christmas, Steve met them again at the paddock. The gang had just won a dog fight. This is Tom Bell.
There you go, Sven.
He is Stephen Barriscall's right-hand man and the breeding backbone of the farmers' boys.
You going all right yesterday, huh?
Number 1 in 26 minutes.
I see, we should. Long enough, wasn't it?
Oh, fuck, that's a quick one. That was quick enough. 26 minutes.
Then the godfather himself, Stephen Barriscall, turned up.
Did you make any money yesterday?
No, I hadn't. No, I had a lot of money on it. Some of the always a lot of. I'm not really a gambler.
I hate losing. That's it. Sends the atmosphere a bit bad at the end, right? Yeah.
It's just pure sport for me, you know.
Were the injured bad or were the?
Or bad.
Alright, yeah.
A couple of guys from Liverpool there, and I think they had about €1,000 each on, you know, on our dog. On our dog. You know, it was lucky enough for one, like.
There was also news of a forthcoming fight, hosted by the farmers' boys.
It's 100%. It's a new place that I'm going to use, so it'll be dead on it.
So you're going to host it, like?
The house right beside it,
But are you going to host it? Is it your match to host, like? Is it?
Oh, it's me hosting it,
2 days before the fight, Barriscall rang with the news we'd been waiting for. Steve had been invited. Security would be very tight. Even on the morning of the fight, Steve didn't know where he was going or who would be there.
Steve would be picked up in a transit van from the Paddock Bar that evening. From there, he would be taken to a secret location, a ramshackle barn on land outside Tandragee owned by Tom Bell. The farmers' boys call it the party house. It was an ideal venue for a dogfight. It's also where the gang have been breeding prime stock. We were convinced Steve would be frisked, so decided not to take secret cameras to film this dogfight.
Who was in there?
Oh, there was people from Liverpool, people from Middlesbrough. The Scousers seem to be putting big bets on. The Scousers are real big into it, like, just for the money side of it.
Would they have been putting hundreds on, do you think?
Yeah, 2,500.
They put 2,500 on the match? Between them, yeah?
No, that was just one person. It was medieval. The blood started probably within the first 2 minutes.
And what kind of injuries were these dogs been sustaining?
Deep puncture wounds from the dog's teeth, and some of the puncture wounds were hitting like vital arteries, like veins, and so real pumping
blood.
Yeah, pumping blood, and when the dogs were hitting the perspex side of the wall, then they were leaving big smears down the wall, big smears on the carpet.
Ellie's grandmother, Jackie Simpson, was also injured during the attack by a pit bull called Reuben. Her son Kyle Simpson, Reuben's owner, was jailed for 8 weeks in May after admitting owning the illegal pit bull terrier. He served 4 weeks. Simpson said he bought the dog from a man in a pub and now feels morally responsible for Ellie's death. The court was told Reuben had immeasurable bite, strength and shake, and was one of the most powerful pit bulls a police expert had ever seen. In the aftermath of Ellie's death, with moral panic about pit bulls in full flow, police mounted raids. But what was the impact on the Merseyside men who had attended the farmers' boys' dogfight? One of them was a man called Mick. As the father of one of his associates explained, Mick simply shipped his pit bulls to Spain.
Well, Mick's been getting them away bit by bit, you know.
Yeah. Mick's over in Spain now, wasn't he?
Mick, yeah. He was over there a week ago. Mick's got loads of room over there, you know.
Right. Is he in Malaga or something like that, isn't he?
It's some little place. He's building a thing there, and he's building something there. And it's not like with the tourist attraction. It's where you just say it's by McGallagher. It's nice and quiet. He'll never have a problem there, you know. Mick's been back and forward nearly all the time till he got his house clear, you know.
Yeah.
They're going over there with vans, many buses and everything full of dogs.
For most of us, Ellie's death came out of the blue. It seemed like a freak accident. But in the months before Ellie died, the writing was already on the wall in Merseyside. Pit bulls had been regularly making their horrific mark here. 8-year-old Nikita Douglas was attacked by a pit bull in a park near her home 7 months before Ellie Lawrenson died. The bite just missed a main artery. The wound was so bad, Nikita had to undergo extensive plastic surgery.
She was lying on his stomach, and his dad asked me, did I want to see Nikita's leg? Thinking it was just going to be a bite, I said yeah. As soon as he pulls the surgical cloth from Nikita's leg, I had to reach over Nikita's bed and get a bowl because I was literally sick. And I cried and cried and cried and said, there's no way a dog's done that to Nikita's leg. It was just like a shark had got her leg. I couldn't talk to her because all I was doing was crying. I couldn't answer her questions. All she kept saying to me, Nan, why did the dog pick me? Why? How can you explain to an 8-year-old child when I don't know the answer of it?
It was Christian Duncan who operated on Nikita. For him, the 1991 Dangerous Dogs Act has made no difference. For surgeons, it's been business as usual for the last 15 years.
There is evidence in the medical literature that the rate of dog bites, and in fact the type of dogs that engage in dog bites or cause dog bites, hasn't actually changed pre-1991 by comparison with post-1991 when the Dangerous Dogs Act came in. So I think it's reasonable to say that not enough was done 15 years ago, let alone what we're doing now.
How many pit bulls do you think still live in your area?
I'd say a good few.
10 or 20?
Maybe more.
In your estate?
On our estate, yeah, maybe more.
American pit bulls?
American pit bulls.
And have you informed the police, have you informed the authorities that there are maybe 20 pit bulls living on your estate? And what do they say?
Well, they mustn't be proper pit bulls if they've still got them.
Has the police ever followed up any of your calls?
No.
Has anybody ever come out to identify the breed?
No. After Nikisa's attack, the authorities should have lifted all the pit bulls then, not wait for a child to be killed. If they would have done that, I really believe that Ellie Lawrenson would still be alive today.
Over in Northern Ireland, the farmers' boys also knew the climate had changed. Steve rang Tom Bell to see how he was reacting to Ellie's death.
The phone hasn't stopped today, have it?
There's some shit out in the fan, mate, isn't there?
Fucking deadly, isn't there?
Aye. What about the guys in Liverpool, mate? Is it?
I haven't. None of them's been answering their phone. Stevie's been ringing them, but none of them answered their phone.
It was on the news that they've seized 8 or 9 dogs in Liverpool.
Holy fuck! I'm going to thin out a few, get rid of some dogs maybe tonight.
Aye.
You know, just keep a few small ones just.
Aye.
I could do a place if you knew anywhere would keep one dog for me.
Is he alright with people, like, is he?
Oh, he's doing all the people, huh? Just be on the safe side, keep them away from children.
Aye.
Fucking hell. Keep them all away from children. Because no child dead blood was fucking next to us.
But Bell would soon have his own problems. His party house was raided a few days later. A lifetime of breeding the ultimate fighting dog looked to have disappeared overnight. 28 pit bulls were seized and taken away in a convoy of council and USPCA vans to be destroyed.
For 30 years, the USPCA have asked for the public to give us information on organised dogfighting. Where are these dogs kept? We never got it. But one thing happened that was to change that forever. The death of Ellie Lawrenson started our phones ringing, and they've never stopped ringing since.
Stephen Barraskull had a cynical take on the party house raid and Ellie's death.
They can basically do what they fucking like. I mean, this is supposed to be a free democratic country, like, you know what I mean? We're fucking over fighting in Iraq for democracy, like, and we haven't got it at home. You would near think they just waited for that big year or something, you know what I mean, or something like that, like, it's disgusting that they're capitalising on this wee girl being killed. This is basically a fucking English inner city problem.
A problem his gang had contributed to by selling dogs to just those cities. But despite the raids, it was clear the farmers' boys had no intention of giving up.
Because things will come, you know, but they're just before it. At the end of the day, it's not a fucking hanging offence. All I can do is weather the storm. But in the meantime, just we'll keep an eye for matches in Holland and different things coming up and fucking do that.
With fighting in the UK on hold, some farmers' boys were pining for action. No problem for the international dogfighter though. You just hop on a plane to another country. This time it was Finland. And Bobby Gonzalez was the host. He'd organised a night of dogfighting to which the farmers' boys were invited. The first farmer boy down the steps was Gary Adamson from Teesside. We'd met him before at the Tandragee dogfight. Farmer's boy Chris Hamill was also game. He'd travelled from Northern Ireland. next day, Gonzalez conducted a tour of his yard, located in the woods behind his home. Many of the dogs they would see here would fight later that night. And at least one would die. All of the fights took place here in Gonzalez's barn, in a specially constructed pit.
The actual ring was brand new when we went into it. It had just been built the day before. It was fresh, it was all clean wood. There wasn't a mark on it. Probably by about fight 3, the whole ring was just blood-stained.
Steve tried to film the fights with a conventional camera, but Bobby Gonzalez had other ideas.
Oh, you can't do that.
Oh, Bobby.
No.
No?
No.
Not just on the dogs?
You can't do it like that. Too risky. Okay, we go. The little guy, he's a house dog. So.
Fight 1 was a roll between 2 10-month-old pups.
Come on, boy.
It's bred pure through the blood that they know how to fight straight away. And the first fight that we seen, which was the young pups, it was a shock to know that young dogs will be able to do that.
As the evening progressed, the dogs got older, bigger, and the clashes more violent.
The dogs clash like a steam train hitting the wall. You can hear it, you can hear the bone crunching. The heavier the dog, the more the crash. Really significant noise of bone on bone. The sounds are quite graphic. You can hear teeth on teeth as the dogs are chewing at each other's mouths and gums and lips. And if the dogs go onto the legs, you can hear the teeth crunching bones and rubbing off bones into the skin, ripping sounds. You know that once you hear the sound, within seconds you'll see the blood.
After a fight, some pit bulls received crude first aid, but for the more seriously injured, the dog fighters used medical kits.
The medical kits that these guys were using were pretty similar to what a paramedic would use. Certainly similar to trauma packs that would be used in combat situations. They ranged from all the drugs that were available to the IV sets and shock relief.
Then came the final fight of the evening. It was between 2 pit bulls, which were actually smaller than the dog which killed Ellie Lawrenson.
It was a very heavy dog fight, both dogs weighing in at 51, 52 pounds. Hammy from the Farmers Boys agreed to referee the final fight. Probably the most horrific fight.
Right. Release your dog.
That fight lasted for 45 minutes. And there wasn't a let-up for the 45 minutes.
As the fight wore on, the ring became increasingly covered in blood. And slowly, but surely, one of the dogs started to weaken. But it wasn't its opponent which moved in for the kill.
Bobby Gonzalez lifted the dog and took it to a side building, put a crocodile clip onto its tail and a crocodile clip onto its ear, and threw a bucket of water over the dog, and then rigged it to the main electricity system to kill it. The first that we knew that there was something up was that all the lights in the barn went off. It hadn't worked because it had fused. The dog was near dead but not quite complete, so we took it to the house to finish the job.
Back inside his house, Gonzalez didn't seem to be too upset at electrocuting the dog which had just given its all for him. Its death had freed up what he callously called chain space.
What a night. Cheers, mate. Good night. Cheers, mate. That was...
Finally got one chain space.
It's not bad sometimes to just thin them out like this.
Yeah, this summer I've get rid of most of them. I'll be happy if I just have 4 or 5.
Aye.
Good match dog.
3 weeks ago, we caught up with Gonzalez outside a restaurant near his home. For our safety, we had warned Finnish police we were going to confront him.
Mr. Gonzalez, my name is Mandy McCauley. I'm a reporter with the BBC. I want to ask you about illegal dog fighting. You've been holding illegal dog fights at your home in Finland. Mr. Gonzalez, maybe this will jog your memory. This is a picture of you, Mr. Gonzalez, on your knees in a blood-stained ring, goading 2 10-month-old pups on to go in for the kill. Are you proud of that, Mr. Gonzalez? Why do you do it, Mr. Gonzalez? Do you get it?
Then the Finnish police arrested him for animal cruelty.
Do you enjoy watching animals suffer? What about the animal that you hooked up to the electricity, Mr. Gonzalez? You poured a bucket of water over it and you watched while it died. Are you proud of that, Mr. Gonzalez?
With Merseyside dog fighters like Mick exporting pit bulls to elude capture, you might conclude that in the current climate, it's not the best time to import a fighting dog into the UK. But you'd be wrong. It's shockingly easy, despite a ban.
The import of dogs bred for fighting, such as the American Pit Bull Terriers, will be banned.
We visited the Dunkells to arrange for Nipper, our pit bull, to travel to the UK via Dublin. Other pit bulls the Dunkells had sold and exported to dog fighters had been doing well in the months since we had last met them.
Recently we had some very good results from Sweden, and one of our dogs has been winning now. He's the 2-time winner, so
good.
That's really good.
Nipper!
Nipper would be travelling on a Dunkeld doctored EU pet passport, claiming he was a Boxer Labrador mix.
If somebody questions this, then you have to be confident and say, you know, shut the fuck up, it is a Boxer Labrador mix.
Nipper was loaded into the aircraft without a hitch. He travelled first from Finland to Frankfurt, a change of planes, and then on to Dublin. The Irish Republic is a back door into the UK for fighting dogs. Pit bulls are legal here, and according to our dog fighting contacts, it would be easy to get Nipper into the country. That's exactly what happened. We weren't questioned once about Nipper's true breed or background, even though he had fighting scars on his backside and front legs. Once we'd overcome some bureaucratic hurdles, it was just a simple matter of popping Nipper into a van and driving him north into Northern Ireland and the UK.
It's been a long journey, but we're about to cross the border from the Irish Republic into the UK. Bar a few bureaucratic hiccups, it's gone very smoothly. In fact, I can't believe just how easy it is to import a top fighting dog into the UK. Mr. Dunkell, my name's Mandy McCauley. I'm a reporter with the BBC. I want to ask you why you've been exporting fighting pit bulls across Europe on false papers. We have been secretly filming you, Mr. Dunkell. You train pit bulls, Mr. Dunkell, and you sell them to the highest bidder. Do you remember Nipper? You sold Nipper to the BBC on false papers. Mr. Dunkell, you told us he was a pit bull. You put down in the papers that he was a Labrador. Mrs. Dunkell, I want to speak to you. It's Mandy McCauley from the BBC. Mrs. Dunkell, why have you been exporting fighting pit bulls across Europe? Mrs. Dunkell, we have you filmed walking around your dog fighting factory. That's what it is, isn't it, Mrs. Dunkell? It's a dog fighting factory. Why won't you speak to me? Do you remember telling us that you saw me last week, Mrs. Dunkell? We secretly filmed you. We've been secretly filming you for a year.
The police then drove Yona Dunkell away. She and her husband, like Bobby Gonzalez, face a maximum of 2 years in prison for animal cruelty. As for the farmers' boys, they too kept quiet when we approached them. The USPCA and the Finnish authorities will be following up on our findings.
HSS service, and please return now to your vehicles in preparation for boarding.
We took Nipper over the Irish Sea, just to be sure there wasn't anything to stop us. There wasn't. Then a drive to Liverpool to take the pit bull for a walk. Afterwards we took him safely back to the Irish Republic, but while Nipper was on Merseyside, he was just one of hundreds of the supposedly outlawed breed, walking the streets where Ellie Lawrenson died. So much for the ban.
The tragic, logical conclusion to all of this is that although Ellie Lawrenson was the first child to be killed in Britain by a pit bull terrier, she definitely won't be the last.
Panorama returns on Monday at 8:30 on BBC One.